So you guys just killed the rewind. That was great. I heard like 5 people on Tuesday say, oh, this is really easy. You said it was really easy. That it was really easy, right? So when you're doing this, when we're factoring, take me back to the very beginning with factoring. What does it mean to factor? What are we trying to do when we're factoring?
Eliminate exponents.
We're trying to make the exponent smaller, right? So ultimately the goal is to make the exponent smaller. And to do that, we turn it into what kind of problems? Yeah, we're breaking it down into multiplication problems. So we're looking for something that's going to multiply. So you guys all broke these, they all broke down into two what? Two what? Esmeralda, perfect, binomials. They broke down into 2 binomials. And I don't want to say that I necessarily, like whenever people say things are really easy or things are hard, that's all really objective, right? Or really subjective. It depends on, some people think some stuff's really easy, some people think some stuff's really hard. I will say this, the ones that we started with tended to be a little more simpler because what do they all have in common?
Yeah. The 2 is the same. It's 2.
The x and the 2, they all start with exactly the same thing, right? Even if we did ones with different letters, they are all quadratic trinomials. But remember when we talked about it, we said the basic standard form of a quadratic trinomial is a, b, and c. And all of our a's here were 1, which meant we didn't really have an a in front, right? So there was no a. So that tends to make these simpler because then in all of your binomials, you know that the first terms have to be what? X and x. So that makes it a lot simpler, right? So today, I'm going to throw a wrench at you guys, all right? Not actually. I'm going to put a number in front of it. Yeah. You saw this coming. I know you did. All right. So we're going to talk about how you can factor polynomials that have a greater than 1 coefficient. And remember, coefficient, just the number in front, right? So we're going to look at ones that have a number in front. So this is our standard one. And we've worked with B and C where C is positive or where C was a minus. What happened when C was a minus? You did 2 of them in the rewind. What happened when C was a minus? What changed about your binomials? Diego? So it could be x minus, and then there also had to be a plus, right? Because to give you a negative number, you need 1 positive and 1 negative. So keep that in mind as we move forward, because it's going to make what we're doing today a lot easier. All right, so take a look at this quadratic trinomial. First of all, is it in standard form? Yes, it's in standard form because it has what? A, B, and C, so it's got the x squared first, then the x in the middle, and then the constant on the end, right? So we're already in standard form, so we don't need to change anything, so I want to factor it. But the problem is, what do we have here? We have a number in front of it. We have a coefficient in front of it. So it's still going to break down to 2 binomials, right? So I start the same exact way. I still write 2 empty sets of parentheses. Brennan? Mm-hmm.
All I did was just put the coefficient in front of the 2 parentheses.
Okay, so you factored out a GCF first. That's good, and we're going to talk about that, not tomorrow, after your quiz next week. Because that often is like going to save you a whole big headache. But today, I want you to have a headache. All right, so, yeah, just a little one. Mm-hmm. And it'll go away. Because I want you to use your brains and think. Okay, so looking at this, how is it different? We've got a coefficient in front. So what does that change? What does that mean? It can't just be x and x, right? Now we need a number in front of here. What number? 2. Could be 2x and 2x, because what's 2x times 2x? Would give you 4x squared. Okay, could it be anything else? 4x times 1x, because that also gives you 4x squared. So now we've got a couple options. Only 2 though, right? Because there's no other things that it could be. Nothing else multiplies to give you 4. But now instead of just saying this is x and x, we have to say, okay, this could be 2x times 2x, or this could be 4x times 1x. So how do I know which one it is? Or how am I going to figure out which one it is? Rodrigo, what do you think?
2x.
What?
Would it
You think it's 2x? Okay, does anyone think it's 4x? Everyone thinks it's 2x? How would you check?
By
Plugging it in and seeing what works, right? So I'm going to try 2x because Rodrigo said I think it's 2x. So 2x and 2x. And then what's going to fill in this here? Matthew, you awake back there? All right. What's going to fill in these two right here? Well, where does this one come from? Not from B, but from C. And then it has to end up giving you B, right? So what can give me 2? 2 times 1. That's the good news. There's only one thing that can go here, all right? So that's 2, and that's 1. Now, what are my signs? They're both pluses. And then how do I see if this worked? Do the work, right? So do the multiplication. What's 2x times 2x? What's 2x times 1? What's 2 times 2x? And what's 2 times 1? Plus 2. So I add that together, what does it give me? Shoot, did that work? No. Okay, so it did not work. Does that mean we're done? No, that means we have to do what? Try it out the other way. So we've got a couple things we can try. We can either switch the 2 and the 1 here, or we can switch to 4 and 1. So since these are the same, switching the 2 and the 1 here won't make a difference. So I've got to change this, and I've got to do 4x plus and 1x plus. And then this still has to be what? It still has to be 2 and 1. Do you know where, though? Where does the 2 have to go? Where does the 1 have to go? It can't go either way because these aren't the same. But if it doesn't work, what can you do? Flip it. Okay, so where do you want this to be a 2 or a 1? 2. A 2? Or in this to be a 1? Okay, now here's the shortcut I'm going to tell you. Because what you're going to see here is that there's a lot of work, right? So when you're going to check it, you're going to have to check it a lot of times. Because sometimes you'll end up with, this one's only going to take us 2 or 3. Sometimes you'll end up with big numbers that you have to try a bunch of different stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, don't check the firsts and don't check the lasts. Because all you care about is if it's going to give you 12. You know that this is going to give you 2, right? And you know this is going to give you 4x squared. So just check the stuff in the middle. So do this one and this one. All right? So do we talk about FOIL? First, outside, inside, last, or have any of you guys talked about FOIL before? So FOIL stands for first, outside, inside, last. And we talked about this a little bit because we said it's a way to keep track of your distribution. So you do the first times the first, the outside times the outside, the inside times the inside, and the last times the last. Here, all I care about is the OI in the middle. All right? So just try the outsides and the lasts. What's 4x times 1? And what's 2 times 1? So is that going to give me 12x? So is this the right answer? Okay, so then what did I say we should do? Switch the 2 and the 1. So then I'm going to try 4x plus 1 and 1x plus 2. What's 4 times 2? 8x. And what's 1 times 1? Did that work? So then what do we call this? Prime. Okay? That is a boatload of work to find out that it's prime, right? Which is why you will have very, very few of these. There will be like 1 or 2 because there's a lot of work. You're doing the same stuff that you did on the rewind. There's just a lot of options. Okay? So let's take a look at another one. Let's take a look at this one. So again, what are our options for the first one? 4 times 1 or? So we've got 4x and 1x, or we've got 2x and 2x. Okay. What can these last ones be? 2 and 1. It's got to be 2 and 1. Remember, we don't really care about the b. It just has to add up to the b. We need to figure out what multiplies to give you 2. So it's either going to be 2 and 1 or 2 and 1. And then, can I switch them here? Yes. Do I need to switch them here? Why not? 2 is the same, so you don't have to switch it. So then my only other option would be 4x plus what? 1 and 1x plus 2. All right. Do I care about the firsts and the lasts? I just want to do the insides. So what's 4x times 1 and 2x times 2, or times 1? What does that give me? So am I done? Yes. Okay. So this time we guessed the answer right away. Brendan, you all right? All right, so then our answer was 4x plus 2 and 1x plus 1. So, is there a shortcut here? No. I wish there were. I wish there were some shortcut way I could tell you that would make this a lot easier. What I will tell you is, for the most part, I'm going to stick with small numbers so that they have little factors. All right, so there's not a ton of stuff that you have to try. Okay, so let's try this one. What can go in my red spots? 2x, 1x. This one only has one option, 2x, 1x. And then what can go in my blue spots? 2 and 1. Could I write it any other way? You can switch the 2 and the 1. Do I have any other options? No, that's it. So it's going to be one of these. All right? And you only have to multiply, you only have to multiply the outsides and the insides. So what's 2 times 1? And what's 2 times 1? So is that going to give me 5? So that's not it. All right, what's 2 times 2? And what's 1 times 1? Does that give me 5? So is that my answer? There we go. All right, so your answer is 2x plus 1 and 1x plus 2. Now, today we're going to try some bigger ones, but for the most part, we're going to stick with ones pretty much like this. I don't really care if you can show me that you know all the factors to like 72. I'd rather you show me that you can figure out the process. All right, so I want to make it easier on you guys. I don't want to give you guys huge numbers. So the biggest ones I think that you're working with today is 6. All right, let's do one more. So we've already looked at 4, and we know that the options there are what? 2x and or. All right, and then with 5, what are my options? Just 5 and 1, right? But this is what kind of 5? That's a negative 5, so that means, what are my signs going to be here? 1 is going to be negative and 1 is going to be positive. Okay, so minus 5 plus 1, minus 5 plus 1. Is there any other option? Switch what? On the 4x? How come not this one? Both of them are 2, so switching it doesn't make a difference. So my other option here will be 4x plus 1. Oh, whoops. 1x minus 5. Good. Okay, so 2x times 1 is negative 5 times 2 is negative 10x. Is that going to give me plus 19? No, that's not. So that one doesn't work. All right, what about here? 4x times 1 is negative 5 times 1 is that going to give me 19? No. All right, what about here? 4 times negative 5 is, and then 1 times 1 is, so what does that give me? What kind of 19? So my number's right, but my sign is wrong. So what do you think I need to do here? I'm really close, but switch, yeah, make it a negative 1 and a positive 5. Good. So I just switch the signs, and it becomes 4x minus 1 and 1x plus 5. And then there's your answer. Okay? So if you try the different ways to do it, and you get the right number but the wrong sign, just switch your signs. You only have to worry about that when this one's a negative. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I want you guys to do some practice. So I want you to go to your boards and try all 4 of them. Try 1A, 1B, 3A, and 3B.